Good morning, happy Friday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live recorded. For anybody that's new here, what I do is look up the news, the most important news rather, from the day before, and I go over it with all of you guys. I don't have a chance to watch it myself. I try to stay off of YouTube 24/7, but you know how that goes. So anyways, hopefully I save you guys some minutes today. If you're new to the channel, I appreciate you for stopping by. Let's see who's here. Dan R, good to see you. Chris Hanley, Andrew Masad, good morning. Nick K, good morning. Crypto Escort, we have Power Minds Crypto in the house. Lazarus, good morning. Let's see. Chris Hanley, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. All set, good to see you, buddy. Steven Cicero, Overboard Tech, my man. All right, let's see who else did I miss. Bot Life Gamer, good morning, sir. We have Leo Lustig, congrats on the 100 Kaspa you won yesterday. We have let's see who else. Helix, Big Black, what's up, buddy? Carl Coat, good to see you. Alvidis, good morning. And Yanel, if that's how you say that, sorry if I butchered that. All right, let's get into the market. Let's see what we're looking like today. Yesterday, as you guys know, was a historic moment for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a whole. The ETFs were launched and they were traded, so pretty amazing. We have Bitcoin looking like 45,858 regardless of the red, and down 3.25%. That is still a pretty solid level to be holding, at least in my opinion. We have Ethereum at 2651. Ethereum has actually done way better than I was expecting, to be honest. I didn't think it was going to have that big of a pump, and it's actually holding. It's holding nicely. We have Dogecoin under 8.5 cents. Some things had to have a pullback. It was pretty deep green yesterday. Solana, as you can see, is 97 bucks. BNB 311. Man, this was at like 250 a couple weeks ago. Crazy. XRP is at just under 60 cents. To be honest, that's pretty close to the same as it was yesterday, right? Let's see. LTC holding at 74 bucks, which is nice. Where's ETC at? $30. ETC had like a 50% pump yesterday, which is absolutely absurd. We have Kaspa still holding at 12 cents. Man, everything is looking really good, to be honest. Regardless of the red, everything's looking pretty good. ICP is down 5.1%, $12, almost 13. Really not too bad. Yeah, there's nothing really that sticks out at me. Let's see, check out crypto bubbles on the day. Renders down 9%. We have Bonk down 10.4% on the day. FTT is up 15.9%. Looks like it's ranking 69. Let's see, this Sui, that's how you say that, $1.16. Looks like that's up 10.7%. We have Blur up 8.6%, ranked 87. Looks like that's 63 cents as of right now. If you guys have any questions, feel free just to @ away in the chat. That way I don't miss your comments. We have EHEX up 10.5%, Beam down 7.8%. Again, I mean, everything usually around like 10% moves are like quite normal. So yeah, it's really nothing that's too crazy. FTT is the biggest earner on the day, as you guys can see. All right, Fear and Greed Index. I want to get into the news today because we have a lot to go over. We have greed at 71. It was extreme greed yesterday. It's not over 75, so I'm not even worried about it, to be honest. That's just my opinion. All right, top 10 coins by coin market cap over on CoinGecko. We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, XRP, USDC, Lido Stakes, Ether, Cardano, and Avalanche. Again, Avalanche kicked Doge out of the top 10th spot. Looks like they have a $12 billion market cap. That's Dogecoin rather, and Avalanche has a 14, so they're beating them by about 2 billion. I mean, they deserve 10th spot, to be honest. We have Litecoin into 20th place as of right now. Again, 74.90. Bitcoin Cash looks like it's at $280 and in 21st place. Ethereum Classic climbing the ranks in 24th. Look at this, 4.4, almost 4.5 billion dollar market cap, which is nice to see. Nice to see Ethereum Classic make it a comeback, to be honest. Very excited about that. I have a decent bag of Ethereum Classic. Let's see, we have Kaspa 39th on this chart. It's at a $2.7 billion market cap, which is still pretty good. Monero isn't far in front of it at a 2.8. Not too bad, and really nothing else really jumps out at me. Let's see how Honey's doing today. Hivemapper token, if anybody's interested, link in the description below. Oh god, why did that just go white? What in the hell? That was weird. All right, 20 cents actually, just holding up pretty decent. It went up to like 24, 25 yesterday, or maybe it was just 23. Let's see. Yeah, maybe it was 23. It was almost 24 cents. Almost 24 cents yesterday. It was a pretty decent pump. Unfortunately, I didn't get out, but it is what it is. Still holding 20. I got back in at 18 yesterday, so that's pretty decent. Let's see what ETC POW is looking like. Oh, I put it together. Forgot. ETC POW. Let's see what this is looking like. 39 cents, down 19.5%. Man, this project's getting beat up. Demo's on fire lately. Let's see Demo. Look at that, 54 cents. Now, some of the newer vehicles, if anybody has like a Tesla or something, or honestly, just like the newer vehicles that have an app connect, you can actually download the Demo app and you don't get as much rewards as if you like would have the actual miner plugged into your OBD, whatever the hell it is, port underneath your steering wheel there. But the app will let you earn some Demo. So if you have a newer vehicle, definitely get on it. Don't sleep on it. And that what's that other one, Nadix? That Nadix app is actually free through the Apple Store, and it's not even listed yet. So if you guys haven't heard of Nadix, go jump on that. And yeah, definitely get involved. Mr. DJ Mines, if you want to put your code, feel free. I have one, but it's not worth me going to get. We have Mr. Crypto KJ says yesterday BTC orders will be filled today, so another little pump incoming. Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. Read my last comment. Dan R just posted again, buddy. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Never mind, I found it. End of day 4 p.m. after ETF, totally underwhelming. It's like thinking you were going to sleep with the hottest woman and you could have done the job better yourself.
Perfect.
Oh, Dan R. God damn it. God damn it. Well, thanks for waking me up. That caught me off guard. All right. Pervert.
Bruh.
All right, let's what other coins we got? ALPH lithium. Let's see. $2.13. Oh, let's took a little bit of a hit, huh? This is at $2.50 as of yesterday. I was wondering why the profitability went down so much on I checked my page this morning to see what it was per day, but honestly it's still making a decent amount. Let's see what else, what other coins are popping. If you guys got any, please let me know. Power mines, no, don't even bother saying it. You haven't even said anything yet, but I know it's coming. Mr. Geek of all trades is here. Good morning.
That's so fucking good.
Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming in today. All right, let's check out how the mining stuff is going, and then we're gonna jump into the news. We do have a lot to go over. All right, the Windminer K9 looks like it's at the top of the chart still. 99.35 per day, making 873 Kaspa. Not too bad. I mean, it's still holding right around the $100 mark, which is good. It was getting a bit scary the last couple days when you know, Kaspa was down to about 10 cents and this thing was making, I don't know, closer to the 80 something dollar mark. That was pretty bad. We have the Ice River KS3 8 terahash unit making $75 per day, 678 Kaspa. You have the KS3M making 508 Kaspa a day at $54.33. Again, this is after 10 cents per kilowatt hour, if anybody's wondering. So if you have free electric, obviously it's going to be more. You have a higher electric rate than 10 cents, then obviously it's going to be less. We have the KS2 2 terahash unit, $17.95 per day. That's kind of, it's all right. It's under 20 bucks, but it's I don't know. KS1 1 terahash, we have $8.97 per day, under 10 bucks. Kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. We have the X16Q over here. I actually have this going directly to unMineable right now, just stacking some more Kaspa. This is $8.57 per day, but I might swap this back over to ETC. I think that might be a good move. My L7 actually arrived at Terra Hosting. Shout out to Terra Hosting, even though I haven't got it plugged in yet. It's that thing is actually there. We have $5.90 per day this thing should be making, so I'm excited to get my Litecoin miner back up and mining. This thing's been off for like a year. Unfortunately, I can't run it here. It's just way too high electric rate. We have the X4Q looking like 1.4 gigahashes. Mining this CAU. I forget what this is. I forget what that is. But it's $2.81 a day as the most profitable coin on that as of right now. The Ice River KS0 Pro 200 gigahash unit is making $1.84 a day, as Mr. Max Voltage would say.
This hash rate's going bonkers.
Unfortunately. It is unfortunate. All right, let's see. S19K Pro, I have this actually on today down at Terra Hosting as well. This is making the most on Digibyte. Wow, Digibyte. What's Digibyte at? Let's check that out. EGB. Let's see. Digibyte's an OG coin, man. Look at that. Looks like it is almost at a penny. Almost at a penny, huh? Look at this. It's having a decent run up, I guess. What's the all-time high on this coin? I don't even know. 17 cents. Ooh.
This hash rate's going
that was
bonkers.
That was the wrong one. My bad. Yeah, 94.9% down on Digibyte. Is what it is. All right, let's check out GPUs quick, and then we're gonna get into this. So, what is going on here? BTG. What is it? Bitcoin Gold? BTG? BTG. Let's see. Anybody mining that? Oh, that was wrong one. Yeah, it is Bitcoin Gold. Interesting. $30.11. Bitcoin Gold. I don't think I've ever seen that on the chart ever. BTG on the 4070 Ti is the highest profit. That's really interesting. We have AIPG, Aletheum on the top of the charts. Mr. DJ Death Star, appreciate you in the $10 super chat.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. He says hit 2 solo blocks AIPG last night. 13 various 30 series GPUs. I know you have a hate with Kapow, but it's been profitable. So sending you your cut. LOL. I appreciate you being consistent. Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You don't have to tip me though, I promise. It's not a big deal, but thank you. Honestly, I do like the fact that, you know, there's a Kapow coin that is profitable. It's neat. I just personally can't mine it. It's literally, it would, that bill that comes in when I get my electric bill is awful. I think I paid $900. Yeah, I paid $900, $930 I think this month for an electric bill when I was mining here. So it's too much, man. I can't. If I did that, I'd be so in trouble. It would just be reckless, even though you'd still be making money. I think it just hurts more when I see that big bill, you know what I mean? Just terrible. All right, guys, let's get on to the news stuff. We got a lot of stuff to go over. So as you guys may know, ETFs have been approved. Anybody that's new here, ETFs approved yesterday for trading. They went live. We pretty much are going to hear from Mike Novogratz, who is it? Brian Armstrong, Kathy Wood. Like literally every big person in the space is somewhere on CNBC television from yesterday morning too. I'm assuming going to be back today, but let's get into this and see what the Grayscale CEO Michael says over here. Mr. Iguana Bites, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for becoming a member. You're the best. Perfect. Let's do it.
A watershed moment for the crypto industry happening today. Really happened yesterday. 11 Bitcoin ETFs, though, set to begin trading in just about 2 hours from now.
So this is prior to them obviously opening the trades, but I'm catching us all up on the most important news of the day.
A very long road to regulatory approval, particularly for our next guest, whose Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is among those ETFs approved, happened in large part because of a lawsuit that the company brought. And joining us right now, first on CNBC, is Grayscale CEO Michael Sonnenschein. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You were getting a shout out from Brian.
You know what? Actually, sorry, I didn't mean to cut this off. But Andrew Massad said, FYI, Grayscale had the most volume out of the ETFs yesterday. But there's a reason. They did an upscale, I think, if that's what it's called. Pretty sure it's called an upscale. Mr. Leo Lustig with the 5 gifted memberships, dude. Thank you so much. Perfect. Appreciate you, buddy. Game with Smokey Dan. Gene got one. We have Power Minds got one. Team JFK and Ted. Congratulations to everybody. All right, yeah, they had an upscale of their listings. So they had a futures, if I'm not mistaken, or a GBTC futures or something, and they converted it to the spot Bitcoin ETF, and they're going to talk about it right here.
Armstrong, I don't know if you saw a little bit earlier, because a lot of this would not have happened had you not pursued this in the way you did.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you just broadly, did you guys celebrate last night? What's going on here?
You know, the last couple of hours have just been a complete blur. When we got that phone call yesterday that our 19B4 had been approved and our S3 had been deemed effective, it was almost an out-of-body experience.
You knew it was coming.
You know, I think we knew it was coming. We were optimistic. We were steadfast in our conviction around this. But this is really the culmination of 10 years of work. Investor support, the Grayscale team, everybody's been working tirelessly towards this outcome.
Okay, so what does this fundamentally mean, though, for Grayscale?
It means it's the beginning of having GBTC trade on the New York Stock Exchange, right? We've now have a whole family of investment products that have been following a very prescribed life cycle from private placement now all the way to ETF. GBTC is the first of those products to do that. And now the rest of the Grayscale family of products can start to move along that continuum as well.
Question, though. You were a monopoly of sorts prior to this, which was if you wanted access to Bitcoin, not owning it directly, but in the form of a fund, if you will.
Yep.
You were the only way to do it. Now you're going to have to compete against 10 plus others, many of which are going to try to do it at a much lower fee schedule than you do.
Yep.
What is that going to do?
Well, we've been prepared for a world in which there are multiple spot products.
If you guys don't know, these guys have like the highest fee. I think it's like 1.5. I think it's 1.5 or 1.25. I forget.
GBTC has certainly been the product that has forged the path for all of these other issuers to come to market. Our court victory, our guts, our operations, our disclosures, our work with the SEC. Investors should have choice, but GBTC is coming to market in a very differentiated way. It is going to be, as of this morning, the second largest spot commodity ETF in the world. It has $28 billion of assets under management. And other issuers may try and differentiate on fees. For GBTC, it's about size, liquidity, and track record.
So one of the things, actually, I don't know if you saw, Anthony Pompliano was on the broadcast earlier in the 6 o'clock hour, and he made an interesting point, given that your fees are going to be materially higher than a BlackRock or just about almost everybody else.
Yeah.
He said, look, these guys may not need to go after new money. They just need to keep the money they've got and maybe even build upon that with other ETFs and other funds. Is that the strategy that you're pursuing, or is there something else going on?
Well, I think we're certainly focused on building the ecosystem around GBTC. So, for example, GBTC trading on the OTC market since 2015 never had listed options, right?
Oh, there they are. There are the fees right there. The fee war. Yeah, they are 1.5%. Everything else is under 0.5%, which is kind of weird and kind of strange. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Now that it trades on NYSE, you can now see the development of an options market around GBTC. So you really can see how investors can continue to compile their Bitcoin exposure around a market-leading product like this.
What's the distinction between me going off and buying the BlackRock fund versus buying yours?
It's about the asset manager that's behind it. We're a crypto specialist. We've weathered all different types of speed bumps and advancements within the crypto ecosystem. For a lot of these asset managers and issuers, this is the first time they're going to be dealing with the complexities that go into running these types of products.
But you don't think BlackRock's up to the challenge?
You know, I'm not.
Sometimes I love Karen, even though she's so miserable.
Going to speculate on how well.
For the record, I don't know if that's her name.
Asset managers will or won't navigate that. But what I can say is that over these last 10 years, we have learned countless times through countless cycles that this is not a straightforward process.
Why are your fees higher? 1.5% versus 0.2% for a lot of these.
I think that you know, Becky, we've talked about fees. We promised
Our name's Becky.
investors we'd lower fees. We did. We've reduced by 25%. You have countless examples across the ETF space where you have category leaders that are not the lowest cost option.
No, but Michael, when you look at the screen, we just put up the fees for everybody across the board. You are
3 times
significantly, multiples higher than everybody else out there.
3 to 6 times higher.
Because GBTC has differentiated characteristics. There are no assets in these other products. They're starting from zero. And GBTC, again, has that market-leading liquidity. It traded over $650 million notionally yesterday alone.
I know, but BlackRock is like the biggest of the big. If you're just looking about liquidity and where you have things backed up, like what? I'm really curious. Make the case for me why I should pay 1.5% versus 0 to 0.2%.
Well, we certainly did a lot of research around this. The market in the U.S. is just starting today. If you look at other geographies around the world, you have seen products that have fees that carry anywhere from 125 basis points to even 175 basis points.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like this guy's getting super greedy. Because he wants to be known as like noble for going to court with the SEC and winning the case. I don't think I don't know. It's weird.
Whether that's in Europe, Canada, elsewhere. So there are market precedents for crypto products as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think their fees are way too high. It's one of those things where I feel like they're almost like cheated in the race because them converting their $30 billion over into a Bitcoin ETF from the GBTC futures or whatever it was. It's kind of like unfair. It's like an unfair advantage almost. Like, you know what I mean, at some point. But yeah, I don't know. That guy, I don't know. We're gonna see what happens with that. Guys, that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's listen to Mr. Michael Novogratz here again, another Bitcoin OG over on CNBC television. Let's do it.
Joining us right now exclusively is Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz. You've been saying this day was going to come for a very, very long time, and here it is.
I love his Bitcoin suit jacket. Look at that. Look how bright that thing is.
And we're here. And you're here. So one of the questions we've been asking, now we've spoken to a whole bunch of people who have an ETF like you. And we've been talking about the different fee structures and everything else. But what is going to ultimately make your fund distinct from Cathie Woods' fund, distinct from Grayscale, distinct from BlackRock, Fidelity. How should
The Dumb and Dumber jacket.
somebody who's
so
watching
is.
this
That's
morning,
funny.
who may say to themselves, you know what, maybe I want to buy one of these things, actually decide?
So I think in the long run, you're going to have 2 or 3 that actually win. I don't think it'll just be one winner. It'll be a couple winners. We have a ETF in Canada with CI Group, and we started second. We were second place, and now we're the largest ETF. And I looked last year at tracking error, because all you really care about as an investor is, does this thing track Bitcoin? We were less than 1% tracking error. Our largest competitor was 11%. And
Wow.
so
Oh,
all
wow.
ETFs are not created equal. So what goes into that? It's your execution, it's your liquidity, it's the hidden fees, right? And so we think we've done this before. We've done it in Germany, we've done it in Canada, we've done it in Brazil. We know how to run a cash trade ETF.
So when people say something could go wrong, that's what you're talking about.
It's tracking error. Listen, today is going to be chaos, right? Because you've got 13 sales forces trying to pull in money. You've got Grayscale, this giant that lots of people are going to be redeeming from. And so at the end of the day, at 2:30, when you put in your redemptions and your creates, there's going to be
You just
massive.
said there's going to be a lot of people redeeming at Grayscale. Why do you say that?
Listen, people bought Grayscale at a 30%, 40%, 50% discount to NAV, and with Bitcoin far lower. And so the chance to now get out at par, they're going to do that. And,
Mike, it's all
That's a good point.
before today. If you decide to buy Bitcoin, you had to be sort of ready to do some things. It's a lot of, I mean,
Yeah.
you know the resistance I'm talking about from the average
Oh, yes.
person. And they're everywhere. And I'm not going to mention any names, but they're everywhere. People that would never do it. You had to open a Coinbase account, or you had to get your own wallet, or you had to do it. Now it's going to be really easy to do it with $10,000. I mean, to put up 50 to buy a Bitcoin, that's almost not an institutional person, but someone with a lot of conviction. If anyone could buy 10 grand worth right now, and Kathy Woods says it's going to 750,000. So people are going to put 10 grand in and have 150,000 in a couple of years. That's too easy. I think you could make a case that the people that had the nerve to do it and step out and not be part of the pack that just were anti-Bitcoin, they've already made their money. Now not everyone else is going to get rich now. It's too late.
Listen, the earliest adopters always get richest. And so in that
Facts.
point,
You think it's
you're
going
right.
to 750? You can buy it now.
Her lips to God's ears. I do think over time, this will continue to appreciate.
Her lips to God's ears. 100%. It will continue to appreciate. And it comes down to when we see these massive spikes, if it happens, when it happens over on the ETFs, those markets are going to get halted. The only people that are going to win are the people that actually hold Bitcoin themselves in your own wallet that you can trade yourself into Coinbase and sell it. You know what I mean? Or wherever.
Do I think it's going to 750 in the next year, 2 or 3 years? No, I don't. I hope it doesn't, quite frankly, because if it does, it means the U.S. economy has really fallen into a dire strait.
I
That's
just
a good
think
point, too.
the smart money and the institutions are in. Now it's going to be the bag holders that get left with.
What I think you're missing is this is a limited supply asset. We don't have a lot of limited supply assets. And there are a lot of people that believe in this like a religion, so they're not selling.
That's right.
And so
70% won't sell. So where does it come from?
And so you're going to drive price up as you get more adoption.
Short term, do you say to yourself, there's a whole bunch of people who've bought in the last 3-4 months waiting for this day to come? Do they sell into this?
Yeah,
do they
listen,
hold?
I think today we could literally see 50,000 and 40,000 trade. We're going to see a lot of volatility today. Traditionally, ETFs mark the high, the short-term high, right? Almost every one of them has come out. Then there's
Again, this was yesterday morning, rather, just before the ETF launched.
the sell-off, and then there's the rally.
I imagine we're going to start seeing advertising, maybe on CNBC,
Yes,
maybe
you will.
in the Wall Street Journal and other places, because all of these folks who have these ETFs are desperately going to need customers.
Yes. So listen, Invesco did a call in Asia with 90 salespeople last night. I imagine the other 13 ETF providers are doing the same thing. And so Bitcoin has always been about adoption. Right? You've sold Bitcoin, you haven't bought it, right? You had to convince people. We call it orange pilling, hence my beautiful jacket.
Which fits. So you had the orange jacket, but you didn't have glasses that didn't have a little safety pin in it.
My Warby Parker's broke, but I got some new ones
on the way, because you must have. I've seen.
That was about a week
I've
ago.
seen blue glasses. I've seen you in all kinds of crap. You don't have glasses that you don't need a safety pin.
I go through glasses faster than most people go through coffee.
But you got the orange, and it fits. See, none of my jackets fit as well as they used to.
Can you speak to the idea of consolidation among these players? You know, one of the things we were thinking about even around Grayscale, is that a company that ultimately, given their fee structure and the like, and given how many customers they have, that could actually be a valuable group of customers maybe to somebody else?
I can't get in their heads why they put their fees 5 times higher than everyone else's.
Right.
My
guess
guess
the
is
same
that
reasons that you just gave.
ETFs broadly get sold by RIAs. And you got to go through Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs,
Right.
and it's a huge ODD process, due diligence process. My guess is Grayscale saying we're not going to clear that hurdle for all the reasons in our past, and therefore we're going to hold on to our assets as long as we can. And there's a lot of people that
So they're
won't
just
sell
milking
because of
it down
tax.
for the clients who are there?
That's my bias. I could be wrong, and I'm not.
Where do then you put a Fidelity or BlackRock in all this?
I think there's going to be a war between Invesco, Fidelity, and BlackRock, those three, and because they have those institutions.
And so what does it take to win? I mean, are some of these guys going to have to lose money for the next couple of years to make it work?
Listen, there's not a whole lot of fees, and so for the consumer and the institution, this is an amazing product. And I think who's going to have the best tracking error? We think BTCO is going to have the best tracking error.
So the market cap's $1 trillion. It's $950 billion for Bitcoin. How much does the ETF?
We lost about 50 billion yesterday, by the way.
Universe
or last night.
Aggregate, and what percentage of what does it even move the needle on 950 billion?
It does, because it's the marginal money that comes in.
That you got to buy from the people who don't want to sell.
Prices are always set on the margin.
And they don't, and people don't want to sell.
And people don't want to
Hodlers.
sell. Listen, Europe in the first 3 days of this week issued $108 billion of bonds. 3 days. It wasn't even Wednesday afternoon. It was $108 billion of bonds. Governments around the world are issuing too much debt. They're printing too much money, and that's why Bitcoin is going up. So when we step back, this is a historic day because the U.S. government, kicking and screaming, Mr. Gensler, I don't think really wanted to do this, said you can now buy Bitcoin.
Love it. Shout out to Mike Novogratz. All right, let's continue. Over here, we have Mr. Anthony Pompliano on CNBC television yesterday morning. Let's do it.
I do think this is a historic moment in the sense of it's the first time that the internet and Wall Street, they've had this healthy tension for a couple of years, even a couple of decades, and it's the first time Wall Street blinked, right? Think of it. It's an internet-based asset that now is being arms wrapped around it by Wall Street. And to your point, now that everyone can buy it, financial advisors are saying, okay, ETF regulators are on board. I'm going to go put it in everyone's portfolio. The volatility is going to drastically dampen from here.
But then it could make the move to Andrew's currency that it's never been. You made the point you can't, you don't want to buy a pizza for $25,000. Right. They said there's too much volatility for it to ever be transactional.
Right.
You know, as a store value, maybe it makes sense. But if it has no more volatility, maybe it turns into something like that.
When I say no more volatility is going to dampen it. What I mean is, over the last 4 years, Bitcoin has had a compound annual growth rate of over 50%. And people are like, oh, that's unsustainable for 4 years. But if you go back over the last 10 years, it's still been 50% compound annual growth rate. And so what I think will happen is it'll just start to taper off a little bit. And in the next 5 years or so, it'll be like 20%, which is still double what the stock market
That won't
is.
get to Tom Lee's $500,000, though.
Well, but I think what you're asking is a different question. Is it a financial asset? It appears to very much be a financial asset.
Right. Does it become transactional?
Is it a currency?
Yeah.
That's a much higher. Ethereum might be some form of a.
That's up a lot more than Bitcoin today.
There are a lot of other. There are probably a lot of, from a technological perspective, a lot better actually.
What I think
different technologies in the blockchain for that purpose, if that's what you think this is.
Yeah, there's another interesting thing that's happening, right? So if I go on Wall Street and I ask people, what is your benchmark? They'll tell me the S&P, maybe NASDAQ, right? They have these equity-based benchmarks. If I go ask a 25-year-old or younger, Bitcoin is the benchmark. And so the reason why that's interesting is there's an entire generation of people who say, if I can't beat Bitcoin, then I might as well just buy it. And that's why you see those people, the only thing they're allocating to is Bitcoin or the long tail of crypto assets they're basically speculating on. And so as those people age, now Bitcoin becomes that benchmark. It's going to get into everyone's portfolio. So volatility will dampen down. But ultimately, if you want mass adoption, everyone's got to put in their portfolio, right? And so the days of the asymmetric 1,000% increases in a single year are probably gone. But an asset that's compounding at 20, 30, 40, 50% a year, you can't get that in the stock market. So I still think it'll be very attractive to a lot of people.
Like that, though? I mean, if it becomes less volatile, if you have everybody able to get into it to do these things, does it still have growth like that?
There's a really interesting mechanism here where we've never had an ETF of a finite asset, right? Every asset is got some degree of increasing or expanding supply. This is a finite asset. And so now all of a sudden you have what could be tens of billions, hundreds of billions, depending on who you ask, that's going to come into this over the next, let's say, 10 years. But there's still only 21 million
There's
Bitcoin.
gold ETFs, aren't there?
But gold still, the supply is expanding. It might not expand very fast, right?
Same with Bitcoin, though. When's the last Bitcoin going to be mined? 2140?
Yeah, 2140. And then you got to also remember, there's 70% of the Bitcoin that hasn't moved in the last year. And so now we have institutions that are banging on the door. And I think it's important to talk about the fees that have changed as well, right? If you look at Bitwise.
So whenever it is 2140, right, when the last Bitcoin's going to be mined, it's still like up to that point, like there's going to be significantly less and less all the way up to that point. Like we're going to be what at 3.125 literally after April per block, and that's really not a lot to go around, to be honest.
This is now the cheapest Bitcoin fund in America in the sense of its 0.24% fee, and they just dropped it down to 0.20. That's a 90% difference between where it was, a couple of days ago in terms of the publicly available Bitcoin fund.
Why did all of these ETFs say that they were lowering their fees too? Like in the last.
It's a fee war. Yeah, I mean, this is a fee war.
And that's what I mean. Is it going to be profitable for anybody? There's a huge amount of demand that's built up, but there's also a huge amount of players who want to meet that demand.
So if you look, Grayscale was at 2%, they dropped to 1.5%, right? And people are like, why didn't they drop all the way down to 0.2%? Well, the big thing is, if you want to go sell your Grayscale and try to roll somewhere else, you're going to have to pay taxes, unless you're in a tax advantage account. So there's a lot of assets that are going to stay in Grayscale, right? And those guys will never get enough credit for pushing this issue and really kind of helping push it forward. But I think that what you see is Grayscale saying, hey, we already have a lot of assets. Let's hold on to what we have. And everyone else saying, well, we want all the new assets that are going to come in, so we got to go compete in the fee war. And so 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, how much does it really matter? Some advisors really care. Other advisors say, hey, I just want to buy something that's a great product that I think is going to attract the price correctly. But what I think is going to ultimately end up occurring is there's going to be tens of billions of dollars that are going to flow into these ETFs, and you have a finite asset, so it will go up.
How many of these ETFs do you think will exist in a year or two from now? I think that there's so much consolidation, or some of them just decide I'm not doing this anymore.
I think there will be more 12 months from now in the aggregate number, but there will be a clear 2 to 3 winners, right? And so my guess is that BlackRock will end up being very, very successful. I think Grayscale will hold on to a lot of assets. And then there's kind of this competition among what I'd say all of the like digital or internet-based kind of innovation tech type ETFs. They're all going to go fight it out. And
what do you guys think for the next ETF? You think it's going to be Ethereum? I would assume personally Ethereum and XRP are going to be the two. I mean, I know there's already been applications, right, for Ethereum, but the approval process might get held up on that one. But XRP is one of those ones that already won in court. So why would, like, how far can they actually hold that one back, right?
So if you have 3 big winners, right, then that ends up being probably tens of billions of dollars.
But Andrew's right. Is that a huge consolidation war?
Yeah, it's basically everyone will keep it because they want it, right? There's a lot of people who have the S&P, index, even though they don't have a lot of assets in it. But also the 3 big
long term, this is, and I asked this, and we'll show a little bit in the interview, I think later with Brian Armstrong.
Some of you guys are saying Solana, ETC. I don't know if ETC will get an ETF, to be honest, or LTC. LTC maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But Kaspa, yeah, I don't think. I wish Kaspa. I don't think Kaspa's going to be third.
Coinbase.
It'd be funny.
Do you think this is good for the Robinhoods and Coinbases of the world or not? Because
good
the truth is, if you no longer need to get a Coinbase account because you can buy this through your Fidelity account, what does it actually? I mean, look, they're going to make.
Well, the smart money aren't going to buy through these ETFs. Like smart people like us, people that are into this channel or into just any channel that are into crypto, right? You guys typically hold your own Bitcoin. If you hold your own Bitcoin, you can sell it at pretty much any point you want. Again, these ETFs, they drop 20%, go up 20%. They're halting the market. You guys aren't selling shit.
Money because they're going to be a custodian on the other side of it. But that's a different business.
So I've invested in Bitcoin. I've invested in a lot of equities across this thing. And this is an interesting day because I'm an investor in 21 shares. I'm an investor in Coinbase. I'm an investor in Bitwise. And so I'm seeing kind of how each one of them is playing this out. And one of the things that's most interesting is the ETF fee war may leak out into custody fee war and also exchange fee war. So Coinbase may have to drop their fees because it may be more inexpensive to hold the Bitcoin ETF for a year than to make one simple trade on Coinbase. So obviously there's pressure there. But also, I think there's a very, very big contingency of people who are educating others about Bitcoin who say buying the ETF is not buying Bitcoin, right? You're buying exposure to Bitcoin, but you're not actually buying the Bitcoin. You're not self-custodying that Bitcoin. And so what we're going to see is how many people care about self-custody versus care about just the exposure to the price.
Coinbase,
I think that will shift.
It can't be good near term. Coinbase's fees.
Coinbase is highly
blows me away whenever I've done anything on Coinbase. It's like, wait a minute, it was trading here. Why am I getting it? And I look at it. I mean, what are they, 5% or something?
Here's another really interesting idea from an investment perspective is the public market drastically or misunderstands a lot of these crypto businesses in the sense of Coinbase has their exchange fees, they have their custody fees. They also have a lot of what I'll call crypto native revenue, right? So they have this new blockchain called Base, and they're generating a lot of revenue there. Miners, a lot of their revenue is actually driven by the price of Bitcoin. So if the price of Bitcoin doubles, their revenue doubles because the revenue is denominated in Bitcoin.
The fee structure itself.
The fee structure will compress, but they're essentially just shifting it into more of a crypto native revenue stream.
Okay, you're an investor in Coinbase.
Correct.
You said you're looking at all of this. Are you more likely to sell based on this, or you think you're likely to add to your position?
I think that any company in the public markets that is crypto native revenue is going to do very well over the next 1 to 2 years.
So add to it. Don't sell it.
I'm definitely not selling.
So you say 1 to 2 years. You think 10 years?
Investing's hard, and predicting 10 years out is nearly impossible, right? What I think is that this is a generational trend where there's an asset class that didn't exist 15 years ago. Now, obviously, it's not going away. And so if you just look at where is money, where is talent flowing, you got to say, okay, crypto is going to be a big beneficiary over the next decade or so. The individual winners, there's always going to be competition, right? There's always going to be newcomers that show up and try to disrupt the incumbents, et cetera. And then you also got to look at, like, what happens if some of the large legacy players do some consolidation with some of these crypto players? Like, if, and again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but let's say that BlackRock all of a sudden says, let's go buy Coinbase. And we'll give them their distribution, right?
But they're tones together. I need to ask you this. So $900 billion, that's a market cap, right? So 70% of the hodlers will never sell. So how much do these ETF that we talked about, how much Bitcoin do they need to put in? Where are they going to get? I mean, do they need, how many billion do they need to put it in the ETFs? And where are they going to get it from the 70%? Is they going to get it from the 30% or the 70% willing to sell at 60,000, 70,000? Where do they get it?
So my prediction is $2 billion in the next 48 hours into the ETFs. It'll smash every ETF record launch that we've ever seen.
That's still small, though, compared to $950 billion of market.
And there's a multiplier effect, right? So $1 in doesn't just mean $1 in the market cap movement, but definitely it's not 900 billion. The second thing is that Grayscale's GBTC, before it had it doesn't have a redemption function. And so if you go back to 2020, there was billions of dollars flowing into that vehicle, and they eventually had about 3.5% of all of the circulating supply that went into that fund. And we went from $8,000 to $64,000 in a matter of 6 months. And so what I think people don't remember is that if 70% of that supply is being held illiquid by these holders, they will sell at some point. It's just going to be at a much higher price.
Why would they sell? And I've thought about it. I've got a tiny amount. And if it's going to $500,000, I'll never sell. But I look at it, I'm thinking, wow, it'd be nice to get, 46 is not a bad number.
There's a lot of people who sold Amazon over the years, right? And many other great investments. But I think
we don't know it's an Amazon.
well, it's been better than Amazon.
Yeah, it has.
It's facts. It has been better than Amazon. And anybody that has sold Amazon over the past however many years, it's been a bad move. All right, Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. I want to hear what he has to say about this whole Bitcoin ETF. Guys, that like button, I hate asking, but YouTube makes me. Let's do it.
Is the custodian for most of those instruments. And I spoke with the company CEO Brian Armstrong last night, first on CNBC. This was right after the decision came out. And I asked him about the magnitude of this moment.
This is a monumental step for the crypto industry and for Coinbase too. And the reason is that, look, there's 52 million Americans who have been using crypto over the past decade. And I think they've been hungry for some kind of acknowledgement from government and the SEC in particular that this asset class is here to stay. And they finally got that. It took a long time. I want to give a big shout out to Grayscale, which was one of the firms that pursued this in the court to finally get it to fruition. But it finally happened. We had a number of ETFs approved today. And of course, it was a big day for Coinbase too, because we were named as the custodian in 10 out of 13 of these applications. So
10 out of 13 of the applications, they were named custodian. That's crazy.
I think this means that over time, we'll see new pools of capital come into Bitcoin. But more importantly, we had a huge regulatory milestone that showed the legitimizing power of this industry.
How much does this impact your business?
Well, we're not sharing any kind of projections or revenue numbers, but I can tell you this is very win-win. And the reason is that, yes, we're going to generate revenue as the custodian of 10 out of 13 of these ETFs. And that's great for these new pools of capital that want to come in and get exposure to Bitcoin.
They're going to make a shit ton of money. Let's just put it at that.
But our existing customers and our retail app where, we've had all these people come in and get crypto to date, they don't just want exposure to Bitcoin. They also want to use Bitcoin for a variety of things. They want to use the other crypto assets out there for commerce and staking and Web3 and decentralized identity. And so, this is the future of money we're talking about here.
There are going to be people who have wanted to get access to the Bitcoin world, to invest in Bitcoin. Historically, the only real way they could do that was to use Coinbase, for example, to buy Bitcoin and hold it. Now they're going to be able to buy a Fidelity ETF or the Grayscale ETF or the BlackRock ETF. How does that impact your business? Now, I know you're the custodian on one end, but it also means that those customers don't necessarily have to get an account on Coinbase.
People who've been buying crypto for the last decade and using it, the 52 million Americans, they already had an option, right? They could come to Coinbase and they're going to continue to do that. This ETF is really about unlocking new pools of capital that weren't previously available. They didn't have a way to get exposure to crypto.
Like people that don't trust crypto, for example, right? Now that it's in an actual financial sector, it's like, what do your parents and your grandparents and people that are in stock markets can't really say that this isn't legit anymore.
And so now they can come in and get exposure to Bitcoin. That's great. New pools of capital come in. But that's kind of the first step in people's journey around crypto. Once they get a little bit of exposure to the asset class, they start to think about, okay, well, how might this be used in different ways? And crypto is the future of money. It's going to enable people to unlock all kinds of utility, which we can talk about if you want. But I think many of them will graduate from ETFs to actually holding it directly and then starting to use it directly.
So in a blog post, you say that spot Ether, a spot Ether ETF, can quickly follow. How soon do you think that happens? And then beyond that, is it Solana? Is it you name the coin? How do you see this
Wow, he actually mentioned Solana. He's asking about it. That's interesting.
playing out?
Yeah, well, obviously that's not entirely in our hands, so I can't give you an exact date. But I do think that this will hopefully...
Because again, he's not like Brian Armstrong. They're not like putting in for these ETFs, right? It's like these other companies. Like they just sell the actual crypto or allow you to exchange for it rather, and they'll be the custodian of the actual coin. But yeah, he's not the one actually applying for the ETFs, but I do think an Ethereum ETF is like right around the corner.
Pave a way for other crypto assets to have their own ETFs. And then, frankly, we should have index funds for crypto assets too, just like the S&P 500, hopefully maybe one day it'll be the Coinbase 500 or something like that. And you can even imagine different index funds that focus on, DeFi or staking or NFTs or different subsets of the crypto market. So this is a really important new area of the financial, markets, and I think that it'll have all kinds of new products come to market after this.
As you read through the decision today, was there anything that struck you about the words and maybe the word choice that the SEC used? And the reason I'm even asking this question is, to me, sort of reading through it, this was an approval, but almost an unenthusiastic one. It was one in which you could sort of feel a sense that they felt boxed in large part by the lawsuit that you referenced earlier from Grayscale and that decision. But left to their own devices, this is not something they would have done by themselves.
Of course, Gary tucked his tail between his legs and had to approve it. That's what happened.
And what that portends for the future.
Yeah, it does sound like it was kind of a begrudging approval. So,
100%.
On the one hand, I'm glad we
a
have
good
an
way to put it.
approval. It's a recognition for the 52 million Americans who are excited about this and hopefully more in the future. But would it have been better if it had followed a more typical process, if it had been held to the same standard as other ETFs? Absolutely. I mean, we have our own case with the SEC for better or worse. You know, that's not something that we ever really wanted to be in that situation. But if we, you know, if we're not going to get clear rules from the regulator, unfortunately, we may have to avail ourselves of the court to get case law created. The court's played a big role, as you mentioned, in these ETFs. And then ultimately, I think we're going to have to look to Congress to pass new laws because ultimately that's where the regulators derive their authority. And I think it's pretty clear at this point that we do need new laws on the book to clarify some of these outstanding issues around what's a commodity, what's a security, you know, the different types of market structures that could apply to crypto.
Does this change your relationship with the SEC or how you might pursue lawsuits in the future?
My hope is that we've had really great conversations and relationships with, you know, the SEC staff that are there, you know, from one administration to the next. They've been great to work with. I think that we want to continue to engage with them so that this can be a trusted and regulated industry in the United States. It's really a shame that we've had to kind of go to the courts to get clarity, and that's what Grayscale had to do in these ETF cases as well. That's not the right way that rulemaking should take place under the Administrative Procedures Act. It's not the way that we want to engage. We've shown up for dozens of meetings. We've really showed a good faith effort to provide every piece of information that they've ever asked for. And whenever we've kind of asked for clarity, we don't get an answer back. We get a Wells notice. So that's not the way that that relationship should ideally work. And we're committed to working with them indefinitely.
What did you make of the Twitter hack yesterday? I'm sure you first saw the tweet or the X post come up. And I don't know, did you think it was real? What did you think?
You know, I don't want to comment on that. It's unfortunate that cybersecurity incidents are so prevalent out there, and they've happened to many people in the crypto industry too. So I have a lot of sympathy.
He so wants to shit on Gary, but he's like way too professional to do it.
You know, we all need to kind of make sure that our systems are secure. And it was unfortunate that that was a distraction from what was otherwise a really important announcement.
Do you see flows? And you've been watching this, especially the last couple of months. Obviously, Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin has been on a tear, in large part, arguably, because of speculation that this day was going to come. What do you think that means and portends for the price of Bitcoin in the short term and in the long term?
Well, I try not to ever focus too much on the short term. The volumes today I didn't see any major price movements happen, but I think you're right. Over the last 2 to 3 months, the market did move up quite a bit, and probably that was at least in part due to the anticipation of these approvals. So look, I'm optimistic on that. I think these approvals will bring in new pools of capital over the coming many years. I try to take a long-term perspective on this, and we really just want to help 1 billion or more people hopefully benefit from this technology on Coinbase's platform. We're not so much interested in the day-to-day movements of it.
25 years from now, 50 years from now, where is this day going to stand in the historical context of business and money?
Maybe right up there with when the first Bitcoin purchase happened, for a piece of pizza, I think for 25,000 Bitcoin or something.
It was 2 pizzas.
I don't know. We'll see. But there's been a lot of historic moments along the way. And
it was like 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas back in the day.
My hope is that we get many more of these. I'm not sure what the next one would be. Maybe a central bank holding Bitcoin, something like that would be a next milestone. We'll see. Interesting.
Well, shout out to Brian Armstrong and Coinbase. All right, let's see. Bitwise CEO on the approval of spot Bitcoin ETF. Again, just catching up on all of this news because there was a lot missed yesterday. Guys, that like button, appreciate you for hanging out.
I just want to start off, what do you think? Obviously, you're excited to get into the spot Bitcoin ETF business, but what do you think this means for Bitcoin specifically going forward? Arjun just mentioned he's at a big cryptocurrency conference over in Europe. People believe it's going to hit new all-time highs this year on the back of this new ETF.
I think this is probably the most important moment in Bitcoin's history, or at least in the last 10 years. It's a huge unlock for access to the space. We think it's an incredibly important moment.
So according to a survey that your company
I feel like he just found those glasses in like a bathroom and was like, these are a good idea. I'm going to wear them.
recently did, about 88% of portfolio managers, they've been waiting for an opportunity to add Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and they say an ETF is that opportunity. So Once this, now that it's approved and once it starts trading, what kind of adoption are you expecting on the portfolio manager side? Do you believe it's going to be like a certain allocation of a portfolio? What are you hearing?
Yeah, we're hearing huge demand. So at Bitwise, we're launching BITB, the lowest cost Bitcoin ETF in America. And as you said, what we've heard from clients, 88% of advisors said they wanted to wait for an ETF to be approved to allocate to that space. That moment's arrived. We've heard demand, a huge amount of demand from our client base. We serve tens of thousands of investors across the country. And how they will incorporate it will be different across different investors. Generally, what we see is a 1 to 5% allocation in portfolios where the volatility but low correlations of Bitcoin can be really additive to the overall picture. And I think that's key. I think sometimes people think that investing in Bitcoin and the volatility that comes with that is a risky bet. But what most investors are doing is sizing it in a way that it's beneficial to the overall portfolio. They're not putting all of their money in Bitcoin. And the ETFs, BITB, make that straightforward and impossible today.
So you mentioned people that think that crypto and Bitcoin is a risky bet. I mean, people at the SEC seem to be among those people not that long ago. In your mind, what changed to allow for the approval of these Bitcoin ETFs? Not to mention the SEC is supposed to protect investors when it comes to, I guess, making and losing money. And how much money did they prevent them from actually gaining from 30,000 all the way up to where we're at now, 45 or so, 15 grand? Crazy.
So the first filing for a Bitcoin ETF was 10 years ago, which is hard to imagine. And we've been working on it for about 6 years. Bitwise as a firm is a crypto specialist and has been in the space managing over $1 billion for clients for 7 years now. I think that the market has matured a long way. So the SEC over the years has wanted to know if there's regulated qualified custody that can securely hold these assets. They've wanted to know that there's enough market maturity and liquidity, and they've had concerns about, is there a risk of manipulation? And in the order that they issued last night approving Bitcoin ETFs, allowing Bitcoin ETFs to be introduced to the market, they expressed that they're comfortable with all of those elements. And so I think that's a really watershed moment for investors to see that analysis from the SEC.
So in your mind, now that you're going to be able to buy a spot Bitcoin ETF, how's that going to impact interest in the underlying asset, Bitcoin itself and other cryptocurrencies?
I think it's a huge catalyst. You know, if you look at the history of gold, after the dollar came off of the gold peg in the 70s, gold was still around and it traded around. But it was really in 2003 when gold got its first ETF that the market expanded and gold went on a 10-year bull market. And so I think with the Bitcoin ETFs, finally there's a way for busy investors, for professional investors to access this opportunity. And that will mean adoption through the ETF, but it will also grow the overall market with investors buying Bitcoin directly as well.
As you guys know, Bitcoin is a finite asset. It is not able to be, who was it? I don't remember who said it, but someone said that there's only going to be, 21 million ever Bitcoin. And, however much gold there is on the planet as of right now, we could always go to space and mine gold on an asteroid, but I can guarantee you that we're not going to be able to go up there and mine Bitcoin on an asteroid, which is totally true. All right, ARK Invest CEO Kathy Wood, let's hear a bit from her. Guys, that like button, appreciate you all. Let's do it.
Okay, now let's talk pricing, or I shouldn't say pricing, but the price of Bitcoin. You and I have had conversations now over many years where you've talked about Bitcoin being worth something on the order of $500,000, literally in only a couple of years from now. Do you stand by that? How does this ETF change that, speed that up, slow it down?
Dude, I hope she nails how much Bitcoin's going to go to, right on the head. It'd be so great. But at the same time, it's how do you know that it's going to go this high? And I mean, I guess if you project off the chart of gold and how the gold ETF went, the 10-year bull run, as the last guy just said, look at that chart. It's freaking unreal. If Bitcoin follows that same trajectory, she's probably right on par.
What do you think?
Yes. So you'll find in our big ideas, so that's at ark-invest.com, the building blocks for our price forecast. And our base case is in the $600,000 range. Our bull case, and we think the probability of the bull case has increased with this SEC approval. This is a green light. Our bull case is $1.5 million by 2030. You can see the building blocks. You can see how conservative we are in terms of
$1.5 million by 2030. Do you guys think that's going to happen? That's crazy. That's really soon. That's really soon. I feel like it would be like a little bit further out than that, but that's crazy.
Those building
God damn,
blocks.
I hope that happens.
This is a big idea. It is the first global, decentralized, digital, rules-based, critical there, rules-based monetary system in history.
Not wrong.
It is a very big idea.
She's not wrong.
And
that's crazy.
Let me ask you the separate
That's a
question,
bold
which is,
statement.
Do you believe that for it to get to those type of numbers, it has to become a currency, not just an asset? One of the things that Brian Armstrong was talking about is he thinks that this is just going to create a lot more interest in crypto across the board, and that is what's going to actually propel this and might even change the dynamic with which Bitcoin is being used, which is currently today as digital gold or something like that, but potentially actually could leapfrog into the currency that people have talked about for many years.
Yes, our first paper on this was in 2015. The white paper is still on our site. And we tried to figure out, could Bitcoin serve the three roles of money? Store of value, as you say, most people agree with that one. Means of exchange, unit of account. And the answer to that was yes. We put out a Bitcoin brainstorm with our partner Bitcoin Park in Nashville. And it examines the convergence of artificial intelligence and Bitcoin. And you'll hear his nickname's Roast Beef on that podcast talk about that convergence and how it's going to
his nickname's Roast Beef.
Fine, the division of labor. It's probably going to put the gig economy on steroids. And it's starting already in the emerging markets, in Africa in particular. So it's very exciting. I don't think people understand how hard at work the developers around the world have been. Lightning Network is a big part of leveraging the base layer Bitcoin. So we're very excited. We're so happy that ARKB is going to be part of the ecosystem.
Kathy Wood's damn savage. Absolutely love it. You guys imagine the price of 150 million? Is that what you said? I mean, no, sorry. What was it? 1.5? Is that what you said? God damn it. 1.5 million in by 2030. Where was it? Let's go back and listen to that one more time.
Our price forecast. And our base case is in the $600,000 range.
So 1.5,
our bull
right?
case, and we think the probability of the bull case has increased with this SEC approval. This is a green light. Our bull case is $1.5 million by 2030.
$1.5 million by 2030. That's freaking crazy. You guys imagine that? All right, let's get on to Crypto World. CNBC Television. Again, they recap this news of the day. Let's see. Guys, that like button. Appreciate you all.
Today, after a decade of proposals, spot Bitcoin ETFs start trading on U.S. exchanges. Bitcoin and Ether surge as crypto investors celebrate the new listings. And Sylvia Jablonski of Defiance ETFs explains what the launch of these new products mean for the crypto industry and Wall Street.
Who's buying more Bitcoin? Let me know in the chat.
Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Talia Kaplan. It's official. The SEC has approved the first spot Bitcoin ETFs in the U.S., and they're already trading. Well,
I feel like, oh my God, I hate doing this, but I feel like her dad, like before she walked out of the house, he was like, "Here, put this ridiculous bow tie on. You gotta hide that little hole in the dress."
Talk all about them in just a bit, but first, let's get a check on crypto prices.
Cover yourself
By
up
noon
here.
Eastern, Bitcoin rose 1.3%, trading close to the $46,000 mark, but that's down from earlier when it briefly crossed the $49,000 level as those ETFs opened for trading. Ether, meanwhile, getting a big boost, jumping more than 7%, and Solana rose 5%, inching closer to $100. Let's also check on crypto-focused stocks. At noon, they were deeply in the red, with MicroStrategy and Coinbase dropping 4.7% and 6.3% respectively. Miners, Marathon and Riot dropped more than 13% in the past 24 hours, while CleanSpark fared a bit better, falling 8%. All right, after more than a decade of proposals submitted to the SEC, the agency has finally approved the first spot Bitcoin ETFs for U.S. markets. The announcement came just after 4 p.m. on Wednesday when the SEC approved a rules change that paved the way for the creation of these ETFs. As part of that decision, Chair Gary Gensler said in a statement that circumstances had changed since 2018 when the agency began rejecting proposals directed at the creation of spot ETFs. Of course, the circumstance that changed, that August 2023 ruling when a U.S. Court of Appeals told the SEC to go back and review Grayscale's application to convert its Bitcoin trust into an ETF.
All right, I have to pause this. I thank you, Dan R., for letting me know about this. Look at this. Elizabeth Warren. Oh my God. She says the SEC Gov is wrong on the law and wrong on the policy with respect to the Bitcoin ETF decision. If the SEC is going to let crypto burrow even deeper into our financial system, then it's more urgent than ever that crypto follow basic anti-money laundering rules. Eat shit, lady. Bruh. Get the f out of here.
Now, Gensler also said the agency was merit neutral, but pointed out that he believes Bitcoin is speculative, volatile, and used for illicit activity. He made it clear the agency did not endorse Bitcoin with this decision. Nevertheless, Wall Street and crypto celebrated the decision as a huge advancement for digital assets. In total, 11 ETFs got the go-ahead and all are trading today. Here's where those ETFs stand as of noon Eastern. They're all in the red, but the bigger story is demand. The Grayscale Bitcoin Trust rose nearly 6% at the beginning of the day, while BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust jumped more than 4% this morning. Those funds saw millions of dollars in trading volume throughout the morning, which will be a key metric Wall Street watches to understand just how popular these ETFs will be. One way asset managers are hoping to beat the competition and drive adoption: lowering fees. We already told you this week that ETF issuers have been updating their fees right up to the final moments before listing, and most of them have settled between 0.2% and 0.3%. There are some outliers, though, like Hashdex's 0.94% fee and Grayscale's 1.5% fee. But most issuers hope to compete with exchanges like Coinbase, which charge as much as 0.6% to buy Bitcoin directly. Now, crypto experts and the ETF issuers themselves joined CNBC throughout the day to react to the launch of these new products. Here's what they had to say.
This is a monumental step for the crypto industry
that was loud
and
as
for
hell.
Coinbase too. And the reason is that, look, there's 52 million Americans who have been using crypto over the past decade. And I think they've been hungry for some kind of acknowledgement from government and the SEC in particular that this asset class is here to stay.
I do think this is an important milestone for the asset class. 11 ETFs or ETPs coming to market on one day is actually historic for the ETF industry. You haven't seen this kind of level of competition on an exposure day one ever. I think that means that there are many firms that believe there's merit to the asset class and pent-up demand.
GBTC is coming to market in a very differentiated way. It is going to be, as of this morning, the second largest spot commodity ETF in the world. It has $28 billion of assets under management.
But he cheated. He converted it. He what do you call it? Upscaled it to a spot ETF from the GBTC BS they had, futures or whatever. So that's kind of unfair.
And other issuers may try and differentiate on fees. For GBTC, it's about size, liquidity, and track record.
So I think in the long run, you're going to have 2 or 3 that actually win. I don't think it'll just be one winner. It'll be a couple winners. Perfect. We have a ETF in Canada with CI Group.
It is smart.
And we started second. We were second place. And now we're the largest ETF. It's all you really care
I can't get the Dumb and Dumber jacket out of my brain now. Thanks, Geek of All Trades, for ruining this for me.
About as an investor is, does this thing track Bitcoin? We were less than 1% tracking error. Our largest competitor was 11%. And so all ETFs are not created equal. So what goes into that? It's your execution, it's your liquidity, it's the hidden fees.
True.
I do think that the fees make a difference. We have approached this differently from some others. We believe that Bitcoin is a public good. And so we're not looking to maximize profits here. 21 basis points, 21 shares is our partner. 21 million Bitcoin is the number that will, the maximum number that can be printed.
Grayscale was at 2%, they dropped to 1.5%, right? And people are like, why didn't they drop all the way down to 0.2%? Well, big thing is, if you want to go sell your Grayscale and try to roll somewhere else, you're going to have to pay taxes, unless you're in a tax advantage account. So there's a lot of assets that are going to stay in Grayscale, right? 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. How much does it really matter? Some advisors really care. Other advisors say, hey, I just want to buy something that's a great product that I think is going to track the price correctly.
Yeah, I don't know.
What investors look for in ETFs is performance, and performance is a couple of things. It's market quality, which is liquidity, it's spreads, and of course it's tracking. How well does this vehicle deliver what they're actually looking for, which is spot Bitcoin? And that's what investors so far haven't been able to get in an exchange traded wrapper. And so far we are optimistic that that's what we're going to be able to deliver.
She looks like she hasn't slept in days from this news. Damn.
All right, Crypto World's Mackenzie Sagallo spoke to Sylvia Jablonski of Defiance ETFs to find out what she thinks these new products mean for the industry.
Thanks for being here, Sylvia. Let's start with just your reaction to the past 24 hours, the approval of these ETFs, and their first few hours of trading.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, I think the last 24 hours have been some of the most exciting hours of the markets, certainly in 2024. Everything from the price of Bitcoin soaring, price of Bitcoin falling. There was a hack, there wasn't a hack, it's approved, it isn't approved. So it's definitely been a lot of excitement. I think I sort of expected what happened, right? I think once we got the approval, you see that price kind of spike. And now you have all of these different ETF issuers that are trying to get to market. So I think today is going to be super interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of volatility in the price, because you're going to have a lot of creations on new funds coming into the market. You're going to have a lot of redemptions on kind of the old funds, perhaps, that were using futures. So it'll be a choppy couple of days, I think, for the underlying crypto asset.
So we've seen millions of dollars in trading volume so far today, and some are estimating that we could see $100 billion in inflows this year alone. What's your view on demand for these assets?
So it'll be interesting to see where this actually shakes out. I certainly think that there's a high chance that the price of Bitcoin begins to appreciate, and that the volume of kind of pickup and asset allocation begins to accelerate. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I think you have just, speculators that think that the price of Bitcoin is going to soar because of all of this noise going around it, and whether they believe in cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or not, they're price trend followers, and so they'll jump in. I think number two, though, is the more practical trade and the more, kind of the longer term vision for what could make the asset grow. You now have a product in an ETF wrapper, which means it's tradable at any minute of the day, which you had, arguably with Coinbase and some of the other platforms, but you don't need a digital wallet. The shares are custodied. You can go to a lead market maker. You can go to a market maker to make sure you're kind of getting in at a good price. You can create a net asset value. So, pricing is more efficient, settlement is more efficient. I think the due diligence groups at big institutions will like it because they can actually now review it and not worry about, how do we manage a digital wallet or digital wallets for our 10,000 clients that want exposure to Bitcoin. So I think the institutions that believe in the use case and want the alternative income, whether they think it's, kind of digital gold or just an alternative currency allocation, if they take a couple percentage points of allocation to this, then that adds up to those billions of dollars that people are talking about.
Real quick, in the chat, we had a question. Dan R said, what is the percentage of 21 million is locked for mining rewards? So there is, once the 21 million's mined out, you're no longer going to have any sort of mining rewards. You're going to get rewarded off of the transactions from the Bitcoin network, as long as nothing changes between now and then. But the price of transactions should be able to carry the network further with miners and stuff. But I mean, honestly, that we're all going to be dead by that point. So I mean, it's like 2040, the last, or 2140 rather, the last Bitcoin block is it's literally over 100 years from now. So I wouldn't worry about it.
In terms of adoption, what are your expectations for secondary fund flows or allocation into things like retirement and larger portfolios?
All of that takes so much time. I've been in the ETF business for a long time, and there's been so many products that, companies that I've worked for and work for have, been waiting for in terms of getting up on retirement accounts. And those products are, far less speculative, let's call it. Perhaps they're options related products, or perhaps they're products that have a tiny bit of leverage. So I think, self-directed retirement accounts, sure, I think they're going to be able to trade this stuff and pick it up. I think in terms of, kind of the classic retirement account that you may have through your employer, you might not see that. In terms of crypto allocation, I do suspect that any kind of fund of funds or mutual fund that takes, a small percentage of allocation to this is very likely to use the ETF. I mean, you're talking about, some of them have, 30 basis point fees, which is really nothing as compared to probably the prices and the slippage and the things you're getting with the futures-based products. So it definitely has some opportunity there.
Yeah, from a more narrative perspective, Wall Street has long been the sort of antithesis of crypto. Bitcoin and others were lauded as a way around traditional finance and maybe directly in opposition to Wall Street. Now, this is maybe the largest entangling of Bitcoin and traditional finance in history. What does this mean for the narrative that Bitcoin or crypto is new finance? And how does that storyline evolve going forward?
Well, I think what's really interesting, particularly as it relates to ETFs, is that for many, many years, you just didn't see much innovation. There were products that were grandfathered in, whether they're, things like levered funds, for example, and they were restricted to certain leverage points. And now you see products that have found creative ways to beat those leverage points, 3x, 4x, 5x. You now see active income funds, for example. And I think crypto is just another new idea that came in. And, it seems as though the regulators have been, I don't want to say, kind of forced, but they've certainly been presented with like mostly new ideas this year that differed from the typical types of ETFs that they see. And now, they're kind of examining new things. And, there's some background here, right? We all know there was a lawsuit that went on around this. And so I think, kind of the nature of, kind of forcing the review a little more deeply and opening it up to approvals, the fact that happened, I think now, will challenge the market in terms of new and different types of creative products that will come out around this. So to answer you more specifically, I wouldn't be surprised now if we see all sorts of, new crypto filings, portfolios of cryptos, income on crypto, leverage on crypto. I think it's all going to be filed for. We'll see what actually gets approved and hits the market, but this is likely to grow. In terms of whether or not it will be adopted, well, we'll see. I think there are billions of dollars in crypto. There are multi-billions of dollars in gold, and a lot of, Wall Street believes that crypto is kind of the next digital gold. So if that transition really happens, then these products all have a shot of gathering assets. But it's going to be slow. I mean, you definitely have a lot of haters out there still. For every enthusiast, you probably have 5 haters.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we'll be back again tomorrow with a look at the impact of the SEC's decision on crypto miners. We look forward to seeing you then.
Oh, apologize. All right. Shout out CNBC Crypto World for that. All right, let's get into Mr. Austin over at Altcoin Daily. Enough of the news. Want to hear what he has to say? Let's watch a video. Guys, that like button. Appreciate you all. Let's do it.
I do think this is a historic moment in the sense of it's the first time that the internet and Wall Street, they've had this healthy tension for a couple of years, even a couple decades, and it's the first time Wall Street blinked.
We are witnessing history as a record amounts of money flow through these Bitcoin ETFs on the first.
Don't get it wrong. We're going to be seeing a lot more of this money coming in the next couple days, or next couple weeks, rather.
First day of listing.
Listen, today is going to be chaos, right? Because you've got 13 sales forces trying to pull in money. You've got Grayscale, this giant that lots of people are going to be redeeming from. And so at the end of the day, at 2:30, when you put in your redemptions and your creates, there's going to be
We're seeing chaos as the spot Bitcoin ETFs record $2.38 billion trading volume for the first day.
Okay, now let's talk pricing. The price of Bitcoin.
Our base case is in the $600,000 range. Our bull case, and we think the probability of the bull case has increased with this SEC approval. This is a green light. Our bull case is $1.5 million by 2030.
Damn, that's crazy. 1.5 by 2030. It was 1 million. She said 1 million by 2030 before the ETF approval.
You can see the building blocks. You can see how conservative we are.
And if we look at the winners, ranking the 11 newly trading Bitcoin ETFs, Grayscale is coming in at number 1 with over $1 billion in volume. BlackRock coming in at number 2 with over $600 million in volume, and Fidelity, ARK Invest, Bitwise, Invesco.
What is going to ultimately...
Wait, real quick, again, Grayscale, top of the charts here, obviously, because they converted a shit ton of money. So they kind of an unfair advantage, in my opinion.
$600 million in value.
Just me.
And Fidelity, ARK Invest, Bitwise, Invesco.
What is going to ultimately make your fund distinct from Cathie Woods' fund, distinct from Grayscale, distinct from BlackRock, Fidelity? How should somebody who's watching this morning, who may say to themselves, you know what, maybe I want to buy one of these things, actually decide?
So I think in the long run, you're going to have 2 or 3 that actually win. I don't think it'll just be one winner. It'll be a couple winners. We have a ETF in Canada with CI Group, and we started second. We were second place, and now we're the largest ETF. And I looked last year at tracking error, because all you really care about as an investor is, does this thing track Bitcoin? We were less than 1% tracking error. Our largest competitor was 11%. And so all ETFs are not created equal. So what goes into that? It's your execution, it's your liquidity, it's the hidden fees, right? And so we think we've done this before. We've done it in Germany.
I don't know why he thinks he's going to get like copyright stricken for like videos. Why he whitewashes them like this.
We've done it in Canada. We've done it in Brazil.
The worst case, YouTube's just going to profit share if it happens.
We know how to run a cash trade ETF.
So when people say something could go wrong, that's what you're talking about.
It's tracking error.
But we're now watching all these different Bitcoin ETF issuers compete against each other to sell their client base their Bitcoin ETF.
I imagine we're going to start seeing advertising, maybe on CNBC, maybe in the Wall Street Journal and other places, because all of these folks who have these ETFs are desperately going to need customers.
Yes. So listen, Invesco did a call in Asia with 90 salespeople last night. I imagine the other 13 ETF providers are doing the same thing. And so Bitcoin has always been about adoption, right? You've sold Bitcoin, you haven't bought it, right? You had to convince people. We call it orange pilling.
Now the winners are still being
hence the orange jacket
chosen, but actually combined in the first hour, this already broke records. The 10 fresh spot Bitcoin ETFs. I guess that means everybody but Grayscale, since they already had billions of dollars in funds. As a group, they already topped BITO's record, which is Bitcoin futures, which used to hold the record. The latest report, according to Yahoo Finance data, is that the spot Bitcoin ETFs hit 3.5 billion in trading volume today. But
I'm gonna be honest, I like watching Altcoin Daily for like all the Twitter news stuff, because to be honest, I personally just can't stand Twitter. It's a cesspool of bullshit. But his team kind of rips through it, and they tell him what to put into videos, so it's kind of it's just nice to see like everything that's kind of going on in the space, and I don't have to like chase it down.
Just understand that is both buying and selling. And when we compare these Bitcoin ETFs to all ETFs in general, it's actually BITO and GBTC who are both in the top 10 among overall ETFs in trading volume today, although BlackRock's and Fidelity's also making it in the top 25. And to contextualize this, just know for the new ETFs, for the 10 fresh ETF volumes, that does equal buying of BTC today, clear cut. But for GBTC, the volume probably all is selling.
You just said there's going to be a lot of people redeeming at Grayscale. Why do you say that?
Listen, people bought Grayscale at a 30%, 40%, 50% discount to NAV, and with Bitcoin far lower.
Facts.
And so the chance to now get out at par, they're going to do that.
And
that's a good point, right? So they bought it way lower. They're getting converted to the spot ETF. They're going to take profits, but they're also going to have to pay taxes on it. So it's, I don't know. And then they're going to win from the fees, the 1.5 fee. So it's
still a fee war going on among these ETFs. Who has the cheapest fees?
Yeah, I mean, this is a fee war.
And that's what I mean. Is it going to be profitable for anybody? There's a huge amount of demand that's built up, but there's also a huge amount of players who want to meet that demand.
So if you look, Grayscale was at 2%, they dropped to 1.5%, right? And people are like, why didn't they drop all the way down to 0.2%? Well, big thing is, if you want to go...
They're literally 6 times the amount of VanEck on their fees. That's crazy.
Sell your Grayscale and try to roll somewhere else, you're going to have to pay taxes, unless you're in a tax-advantaged account. So there's a lot of assets that are going to stay in Grayscale, right? And those guys will never get enough credit for pushing this issue and really kind of helping push it forward. But I think that what you see is Grayscale saying, hey, we already have a lot of assets. Let's hold on to what we have. And everyone else saying, well, we want all the new assets that are going to come in, so we got to go compete in the fee war. And so 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, how much does it really matter? Some advisors really care. Other advisors say, hey, I just want to buy something that's a great product that I think is going to track the price correctly. But what I think is going to ultimately end up occurring is there's going to be tens of billions of dollars that are going to flow into these ETFs, and you have a finite asset, so it will go up.
and price will go up.
No. Hold on real quick. Mr. Allset said one ETF BTC not equal to one BTC. No. Well, I don't know how that works. I'm assuming it's kind of like they break it up, but it just, all the ETF does is track the spot price of Bitcoin itself. So whatever your share is, it goes up and down with the Bitcoin price. Do you understand? It's not really like I don't think they do it, I guess, one for, I mean, it would be one for one, I guess, at the end of the day, right? But you'd still get, actually, I don't know. You know what? That's a good question. Thinking about it, because I'm not into ETFs, so I really don't know how that works, how their ETF is geared inside the actual platform. But again, it tracks the price of Bitcoin. So however many shares you get, I mean, it will go off that, that, I guess, base price, right?
In the long term, but in the short term, on the day of the listing is now the time to sell.
What I think you're missing is this is a limited supply asset. We don't have a lot of limited supply assets. And
I feel like it would be like buying Satoshis, right? Like you get X amount of Satoshis for like $10, right? You get X amount of shares for whatever you're purchasing, right? Let's see. The amount of shares should track BTC. Yeah, they should. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, I would assume it would just be like the price of Satoshis, right? That's kind of how they would have to do it, as far as I know.
A lot of people that believe in this like a religion, so they're not selling.
That's right.
And so
70% won't sell. So where's it come from?
And so you're going to drive price up as you get more adoption.
Short term, do you say to yourself, there's a whole bunch of people who've bought in the last 3-4 months waiting for this day to come? Do they sell into this?
Yeah,
do they hold?
I think today we could literally see 50,000 and 40,000 trade. We're going to see a lot of volatility today.
We almost hit 50. We have 49.
ETFs mark the high, the short-term high, right? Almost every one of them has come out. Then there's a sell-off, and then there's the rally.
So I'm expecting massive price swings up and down in these first few weeks.
I'll never sell, but I look at it, I'm thinking, wow, it'd be nice to get, 46 is not a bad number.
There's a lot of people.
Real quick, the one who was in the chat said, no, like with Grayscale, 1,000 shares equals 1 BTC. Okay, so it's however they divide it within their company. However X amount of shares, however much the share is, it still goes off the price of Bitcoin as it is, right? So if, I don't know, just say like you get one share or whatever. Honestly, I don't even want to try to do this math right now because it hurts my brain even just thinking about it. But if you're trying to get like, $10,000 in whatever X amount of shares they have, and the price of Bitcoin moves freaking, I don't know, say 2x, like you're gonna be getting, half of that 10,000 on top of your shares. It's gonna move with the price. Do you know what I mean? So regardless of the shares, you're still gaining if it's going up, and you're losing if it's going down.
People who sold Amazon over the years, right, and many other great investments. But I think
we don't know it's an Amazon.
well, it's been better than Amazon.
But just understand, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I have a retirement account with Vanguard. I called them and they said they will not be offering any of the Bitcoin ETFs.
I'm sorry, I said that wrong. If it 2x's, you're going to get double your investment.
Meaning Vanguard is blocking any of their clientele from actually buying Bitcoin. Here's somebody trying to buy Fidelity's, and it says trade cannot be complete. And this appears to be confirmed by the company itself. Vanguard, the second largest asset manager in existence, says they are blocking all clients from buying spot Bitcoin ETFs on their platform. A spokesperson stated, these products don't fit with Vanguard's investment philosophy, and high volatility runs counter to our goal of helping investors generate positive real returns over the long term.
What? Wait, so they're already controlling the ins? Not even the outs. They're controlling the ins on how much, like, when you can buy in? So this is the thing that people aren't really fully grasping here with the ETFs, right? When you are investing into an ETF, if it drops, the market drops X amount, right? Like 20%, they're going to halt that shit for the day, and you're not allowed to sell it, and you're not allowed to buy it. Like, you're just more or less, right? So that's exactly why owning your own Bitcoin is key.
Generate positive real returns over the long term. Yet I did a little bit of digging, and if you look at the top 10 owners of MicroStrategy, Vanguard's number 2. Vanguard is a top 10 owner of MicroStrategy and also owns Bitcoin mining stocks. Also, Vanguard in the past has let clients purchase GBTC. Of course, now they can only sell. And Vanguard also lets you trade BITO, which is the inferior futures ETF product. Something doesn't add up. Also,
they must be hanging out with Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan.
is going to have to adapt, as it's now cheaper to buy a Bitcoin ETF than it is to buy actual Bitcoin on Coinbase.
So Coinbase may have to drop their fees because it may be more inexpensive to hold the Bitcoin ETF for a year than to make one simple trade on Coinbase. So obviously there's pressure there.
Also, many of you...
What? Is that real? Is that true?
Subscribe, not just for the Bitcoin news,
but
for the altcoin news. What's happening with altcoins? Injective has just released their largest mainnet upgrade to date, Volan, ushering a new age of real-world assets, institutional adoption, scalability, and Web3 finance. So specifically, this focuses on RWAs, as well as further connectivity with the Cosmos chains. Central to the upgrade is the integration of a software module focusing on RWAs. The objective is to enable both institutional and individual users to access a variety of structured products. These planned real-world asset offerings include tokenized fiat currency pairs, treasury bills, and exclusive credit
I would
products.
kind of assume so, though.
So RWAs, obviously a trend in crypto in 2024, growing steadily. We also have artificial intelligence crypto, AIT protocol, making...
Oh my God, what, like more AI? There's going to be so much AI just buzz bullshit in this next bull run. I mean, there already has been with AI cryptos that aren't even really AI cryptos. They just have the name in it so people buy it. It's crazy. And yeah, guys, let's get to 100 likes. Damn, we only have 92. We had like 170 people here. You guys are lazy as shit. What the hell's
world's
going
first
on?
AI data infrastructure. And the news today is our data annotation platform is gearing up for its mainnet debut on January 15th. Get ready to complete tasks as we kick off the point counting process. So the mainnet is being released. And by the way, here's a sneak peek of a revolutionary AIT data annotation platform designed to train you. And speaking of that, ZK-Link introduced their ZK-Link white paper. This essentially connects
Anybody into this? I don't even know what this is, ZK-Link.
all L2s, solving liquidity fragmentation. Here's the founder.
We are building a ZKP-based, the first ZKP-based unified layer 3 across multiple layer 2s. And by doing this, we'll be able to connect the fragmented liquidities on different Ethereum layer 2 ecosystems.
Now they are about to launch, but just to really clarify, what is L3?
Layer 3s are third blockchain layer built on top of Ethereum layer 2 rollups, delivering higher scalability, lower gas cost, and more application-specific customizability. So what is unique about the ZK-Link Nexus compared with other layer 3s that are launched recently by the general purpose layer 2s? ZK-Link Nexus provides aggregated liquidity across the multiple layer 2s, as well as more trading opportunities unlocked by the aggregated assets.
So always cool to see the building in this space.
Well, shout out to Altcoin Daily for that video. I know you guys, some of you guys don't like it, but listen, I watch what I watch every day, and you guys follow me for the ride. So that's how that goes. Anyways, all right, let's check out the price of Bitcoin, see what things are looking like. 45,781. Guys, thank you very much for the 100 likes. Appreciate you all. You're awesome. We have 2,676 on Ethereum, still holding pretty strong. Nothing else is nothing's going like strangely crazy as of right now. Again, Bitcoin Gold, I don't know what's going on with that, but it did have a little bit of a pump. Bitcoin Gold, possibly because of the word Bitcoin and the word gold in the same asset or thing. I don't know what's going on with this, but living off the hype of Bitcoin is what I would assume. All the Bitcoin is. How's like that BSV? Is that even still around? BSV. There's just a lot of coins I feel like you're going to see pumped just because of the word Bitcoin. And I feel like this is what's going to happen with, you know what? Actually, we've already seen it happen with Ethereum Classic. What I said a while ago was, you know how Ethereum, you know, right? When I first got into crypto as like just a new person, right? Getting onto Coinbase, trying to figure out crypto as a whole. And like, I saw Ethereum and I see ETC and I'm like, all right, why is this one $300? Or why is this one $5? Like, that's like when I got in. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy the one that's $5 because it's just cheaper and it's easier to obtain more coins in that route versus going and spending, you know, the $300 or whatever it was on Ethereum at the time. And, you know, obviously hindsight's 2020. You don't know what's going to happen. And if you're not like educated in the space, you think it's like kind of related in some sort. You don't really understand the difference, right? Yeah, that's I feel like, you know, I don't want to call people dumb, but dumb money, right? People that aren't educated in the space, I feel like will end up throwing money into coins along those lines because they don't understand it. And that's why these Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin Gold, these other coins that are going to live off the hype of the name, that's where you're going to see all this money come in. That's just my opinion. And I mean, I feel like what has Ethereum Classic done to make it pump to $30? What is the Ethereum Classic done to make it pump literally 50% in the last 2 days? Anything? Am I wrong? I feel like that's what happens like with these coins. When people hear things, they just see the name in it and they're like, oh shit, this is a good idea. You know what I mean? That's just me. But you guys let me know. I had to stop my dad from buying Bitcoin Cash. Says Black Cat. Dude, I'm telling you, and that's the truth. People don't understand. They don't understand or know the difference, or don't do the research to kind of understand the difference between the coins. They just see the name and think that that's part of it, right? Let's see. Give me all your dumb monies. Says John English. Yeah, I mean, pretty much what it comes down to. Let's see. Kaspa. Why are you saying Cas? Mr. Carl Coat. Let's see. Dan R said, what is going to happen to people when crypto degens like DJ Mines, when they start dumping BTC and ETF? People can't do anything. I think that's what you meant to say, because the market is closed. Yeah, they're gonna be screwed. They're gonna get wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. It's gonna suck. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. There's only so much you can do, you know. Once you're locked into the ETF, you're absolutely screwed. Kaspa still holding over 12 cents, which is pretty nice. Did their Rust protocol come to fruition yet? Does anybody know? Is that thing like completely solid now? Dan R, heck no. Dan R, heck no. What did Dan R say to make you say heck no? No, not you get wrecked, bro. What in the hell? My kid just kicked something down my stairs. It scared the shit out of me. I thought my dog fell down the stairs. Anyways, man, so no, we what's it called? We were talking about, like, you know, little Timmy when he goes to sell, right? Or when he wants to sell his Bitcoin ETF and the price of Bitcoin moves over 20% and they lock up these ETFs for the day. You're absolutely screwed, right? There's nothing you can do about it. Like, those people are going to get wrecked if the price is going to spike down. They're just going to open up tomorrow and it's going to be right where it was. What's up, dude? Oh, my kid's coming down here. All right, guys, I got to get back to daddy duty. The wife has left for work and my kids are now about to bombard me over here in my studio, as you can see. Little man's right here. All right, guys, happy Friday. Love you all. All right, they're both here. You guys have a good day. I will catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, have a good day and peace out. And I'm gonna leave you guys with this. I wanna hold on till I can't no more. Have a good day, guys. Peace. Enjoy your Friday.